What's going on, everybody? It's Eqwitty coming at you with my first YouTube video, and today we're starting what I think is a really cool franchise idea. I took every single team in the MLB and replaced them with a counterpart. As you can see, that's what I'm doing in the background right now. I have it sped up a little bit, so if you want to see what your team becomes, or a list of all the teams, you could just pause the footage, slow it down, or just leave a comment below. I could release my Excel sheet for how I change the teams up. But yeah, I'm going to try to make this a longer series. And I'm definitely planning on playing some games, but for the most part simulating. So I was thinking about maybe one, possibly 2 games a month, keep things rolling. But the other interesting part about this is that I used a fictional roster. So none of your favorite MLB players are actually in here. It's all randomly generated. Well, not randomly generated. It's from Bacon's fictional roster. And I'm doing a fantasy draft, and as you can see, I just kicked it off right now. What I like to do usually with the first pick is just pick an overall stud. I'm just scrolling around seeing what's available because I honestly have no idea any of these players. So I'm just trying to find the guy that will be the franchise centerpiece. I could sign for a long-term deal. And that first baseman was actually extremely enticing. He had amazing hitting stats. I could see him just being killer, so I actually pick him. And with my second pick, I usually like to go with a starting pitcher that's also a stud. And I think age here doesn't matter too much. Looking back at it, I think I could have taken a better pitcher, but sacrificed some age. But I was trying to go a little bit younger with my team, so I ended up taking Tanner Blue there. He looks pretty nice. And with the rest of my picks, I'm just trying to either find somebody that's like a 2 or a 3 tool utility guy / stud, especially early on / stud. And then towards the end of the draft, maybe just a 1-tool player, like very good contact, very good fielder, very good power, vision, etc. And with things like that, especially, I believe I left shortstop till pretty much one of my last picks, and I ended up getting probably one of the best fielders in this entire fictional roster. But yeah, I'm super excited to get this series kicked off for you guys. I don't think game 1 will be in this episode. That'll probably be maybe tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, this episode I'll probably do a team review post-draft. I'm probably going to go until round 20 and then just let the CPU take over some bench, the remainder of the pitching staff, some extra relief rotation, and the AA, AAA system. I don't really want to have to bother with that. I'm just going to take the centerpieces of my actual franchise itself. But yeah, I already know for a fact that the players will start to get way more known once the games are actually being played. The fantasy draft is just kind of to see what the league has to offer. And one thing I noticed is that the potentials might be a little bit screwed up for current players. I'm not sure if the potential is exactly what their overall starts at, so that'll be something I'll keep an eye on. But so that really good first baseman I took, I don't know if his cap is the 95, 96 overall that I took him at, or if he could potentially grow to a 99. And I know there's always morale and coach boost and whatnot, and I'll definitely take a look at that because I want my players to be performing at the max of their abilities, because I'm trying to bring a championship to North Dakota. And one of the reasons I chose North Dakota was because they had this very, very clean Game of Thrones style front of jersey option, and I ended up using that on my away blacks with gray pants, and I think it just really ties together kind of the brotherhood of being in the North or Game of Thrones-esque, which I really admire. And we're starting to sort of close out this draft. I'm trying to finally take a catcher, which probably was not the bestest decision to take this late. I think that my catcher is kind of cheeks, and I have no doubt in my mind that when I sim games, he's going to do completely awful. He had above average fielding stats, which I guess is what I want in a catcher. If they can't hit, they may as well be able to field. But I think his bat is just going to be extremely stinky. Honestly, even when I manually control him, his stats are not enticing to me. I think his name was Benji Perez. Benji Perez is my starting catcher, and he was kind of a load of horse. I'm not gonna lie. Probably one of the worst picks. Looking back at the draft, probably one of the worst picks I've had. But we move, and I'm going to continue to fill out my rotation roster. Maybe get a DH because I set the DH to be in both leagues. I think that'll be the move if there's ever, for some reason, some random league pops up. I think they'll just all use the DH. The pitchers can focus on their craft. The hitters can focus on their craft. And we're going into round 18 here. I'm going to stop after round 20. For the most part, I just need to pick a 5th starter, rotation guy. Hopefully I can get somebody that'll just be a back end. Not a stud, but, maybe have a decently low whip in ERA. Definitely somebody that I can try to take deep into games, because I already have a feeling my bullpen is not going to be the strongest. And in round 19, I actually went with a prospect closing pitcher because that was the only place I could actually find a prospect. I wanted to at least draft one, see what would happen with him, or use him as a trade piece, especially to hopefully replace my catcher if I see that he actually does do not that well. And so the draft actually wraps up, and here we're taking a look at the lineup screen. We have Miguel Ramirez playing center field, Alexis Segovia playing second, Rex West at first, that's the stud. Dylan Clark in left, that's the other stud that I think is going to do really well. Big boy Bo Sorensen's the DH. We have Mickey Stern in right field. Kind of looks like almost a lumberjack. I might call him the lumber right fielder, lumberjack right fielder. We have Nicholas Velasquez at second. In the left-handed DH, we have Edwin Escobar playing right instead of Mickey Stern, and then Benji Perez as my catcher. And if you go back, his stats are just god awful. They're probably some of the worst hitting stats I've seen. Regardless of if it's a catcher, I do not think that the simulations will be friendly to him in the slightest. And our bench kind of stinks, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't need any pinch hitters. I only need one DH for the most part. And I take a look at my rotation, and it's not terrible. I definitely have 3 guys that I think I can rely on, and then 2 back-end guys that, as long as they get the job done, I think it'll be a solid season. And then my bullpen has 3 good guys, and the rest is kind of we'll see how that goes. And the last thing I want to do before I end this video is take a look at the morale, because I don't want my players to be playing less than desirable. I'm trying to take a look here, and I noticed that there's nobody happy, even moderately happy, with our coaching staff. So I'm just going to go ahead here and purchase some good scouts. That way I have better luck in the draft. And then I'm going to go ahead and look where my coaching is lacking, because I don't want my players to dislike how poor our coaches are. I'd rather have them play up, and I'd rather have the coaches be able to affect attributes positively instead of negatively. So we're picking up some scouts here. I usually like to have one from each location: West, Central, East, International. I don't really know if that's the best way to do it, if you should just buy the best scouts for each region. I'm not sure if they focus on their own region or not. I guess I'll have to take a look at that. And as you can see here, I'm just trying to find an A attribute coach who doesn't make the stats awful. There was that one that gave -2 control. Here's one that gives -1 contact. So just something that'll overall help the players, and I'll know that if they're an A attribute, that they won't be as mad at how bad our coaching staff is. So I find this guy that has a -1 hits per 9, it looks like, and I just give him a deal, because maybe there should be a better coach hopefully, and later down the line in the franchise. And I noticed I believe it was my pitching coach had a very bad score, so I found a guy that had no negative attributes. And I think he'll just overall help the team be better, play to their max potential. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. In the next one, I'll play the opening day against, I believe, is the Hollywood Stars, formerly the Oakland Athletics. But yeah, until next time, peace, love, and positivity. And hit that subscribe button, like the video if you do, comment if you have any suggestions, even with the edits or the mic input gain. Any feedback is greatly appreciated on my part. And see you guys. Up the gears, I'll give it everything I got, I'm going clear. And I'm back like I ain't never left. Take me to church, yeah, let me confess. Last year I had a lot on my mind like Tony Stark, couldn't get it off my chest.